Let me introduce to myself. So my name is Shailendra Chauhan. I'm the founder and CEO of .NET6 and Scholarhead. So .NET is Scholarhead at the EdTech platform. We deliver the online training as well as corporate training. So we do the training in .NET, Java, JavaScript. In cloud, we do Azure, AWS. In architecture, we do design patterns, microservices. In front end, we do Angular, React. For the code deployment, we do DevOps as well. So these are the various training we are delivering through the Scholarhead. I'm the Microsoft MVP from the last 7 years. I'm a corporate trainer, technical consultant. I have trained more than 25,000 of people live in my various workshops. I deliver in the corporate, I deliver online as well. I'm the author of 14 interview question answer ebooks, which are available on the .NETX.com. Many people are getting the help to change their career in .NET, in Azure, in various other technologies. I have written more than 425 articles on various technologies. Those are also listed on .NETX.com. So this is about me in brief. So let's get started with the things. Even if you want to follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, my handle mentioned over there, you can follow me, the things. So today I'm going to speak about how we can build the ASP.NET6 application using the Microsoft Azure services. So how many people are here from the .NET background? Can you raise your hand, please? So you are working on ASP.NET Core, a .NET based application, am I right? So are you excited about to know the architecture, how we can build our next ASP.NET application with Microsoft Azure? Are you? Yes or no? So today I'm very excited to share what are the Microsoft top 10 Azure services you can use everywhere to build your next .NET application. Are you aware of those top 10 Microsoft Azure services which really will help you to build any type of application? So as a developer, what I think everyone must know those top 10 Microsoft Azure services. If you are going to plan to build any .NET application with Microsoft Azure. So before starting the session, let me introduce to myself. So my name is Shailendra Chauhan. I'm the founder and CEO of .NET. So the agenda of this session is, first, we will try to understand what are the various Microsoft Azure options are available. You know, we having many Azure services. So still there is always a confusion. Which one to use, which one to not use, because many are doing the similar things. Am I right? Yes or no? So first, we will go through what are the options are available for hosting, for database management, for the deployment, for the security. First, we will look those things. Then I will share what are the top 10 Microsoft Azure services that every developer must know if you are going to build your .NET based application, especially in cloud. Then I will dive into the code. I'm having a complete sample with me, which I created because we don't have much time. I can build up over here. So I already hosted in Azure. There we will go through what are the service I use for doing the whatever the things. So we'll have the complete understanding about that. Then you will look at the architecture for building the ASP.NET Core application. So there I created a clean architecture based application. Later on, I just integrated the other Azure services which you can really put with your ASP.NET Core for building the things. I will share the source code as well, not worry about that one. So let's get started with the things. So how the Microsoft Azure services we can decide. So we can say here what are the various options are available for hosting the services, for hosting your UI in Microsoft Azure. So we having the services for infrastructure as a service. So as a part of the ER services, we having the virtual machine, we having the containers based various things. So these are the services coming under the infrastructure service model. But if you're going to proceed with the PaaS services, so we having here web app, we having here function app, we having here logic app, we having here mobile app. So these services you can use as a part of the PaaS services, which also we can use for deploying the UI, which we can use for deploying the API as well. So many other alternatives are available as a part of the ER services over there. Then we having the services about the storage. So when it is coming to managing the database, so we having the many types of database. So we having the structured database. So how we can store the structured data? Obviously we use SQL Server, we use MySQL, we use MariaDB, we use others one. So this structured database we can store as a part of these SQL-based services available in Microsoft Azure. When it is coming to managing the unstructured data, where we having files, where we having the document, so we having the Cosmos DB, we having over there Azure Blob Storage. So one of them you have to decide for managing your unstructured data. So these are the storage options are available in Microsoft Azure. One of them you can use as per your requirement. Then we having here analytics option. So when it is coming to the analytics of the data, whatever we are storing, so we having the Azure Synapse Analytics, we having the Azure Data Lake Store. So one of the service you can use for analytics purpose on your data, whatever you having. When it is coming to the messaging option, because nowadays what is happening, people everywhere are using the microservices architecture. So when it is coming to microservices architecture, so how those services will communicate to each other? We need to communicate in asynchronous fashion over there. So when it is coming to asynchronous fashion, we having the messaging services over there. So there we having the service bus, we having the event grid, we having the event hub. So depending upon the requirement, you can use one of the messaging service over here for storing the things. So next option we having here about security. Obviously, what are the application you're building? We have to implement the security as well. Obviously, we having the menu option available in ASP.NET Core as well. So there also we can implement, but what are the other options are available in Azure through that we can implement more better way. So as a security services, we having here Active Directory, we having here Key Vault. So these are the various Microsoft Azure services available to implement the security in your application over there. So as the next option, we have here monitoring. So ultimately now we have deployed the application in the cloud. It is running fine, but still we have to monitor. We have to figure out which part of the application is working fine, which part is not working, so that further we can enhance it. We can introduce the quality into a product. We can make it better and better. So obviously we have to monitor. So what are the options are available for monitoring our application? These are coming here into two sections again. So we having the monitoring at application level, like what are the application code is running. So I need to figure out which file is taking how much time and how much time this request is taking to load into the browser, to serve the content to the end user. So that application level monitoring we can do here using the Azure Application Insight, we can do using the Azure Log Analytics. So these are the two services you can use for monitoring your application code, for monitoring your application behavior over there. Then we having the monitoring at the subscription level. Ultimately, you are using a subscription for managing all the services. Now we need to figure out what is happening inside my subscription, which service is performing well, which is doing what one. So for monitoring the things at the subscription level, we having the Azure Network Watcher, we having the Azure Monitor, we having the Azure Security Center. So these are the services definitely will help you to figure out the behavior of your application. Even sometimes you need to find out what is the data in, data out. So those things we can figure out using these monitoring services available for the subscription purpose. So do you have any queries so far regarding what are the options are available for Microsoft Azure for doing the things? If you have, you can ask. Go ahead. Anyone, if you have any query, you can ask. You're free to ask over here. So now it is exciting things. What are the most important Microsoft Azure services that every developer must know? Because we having the many options available. But what are the commonly used? Which I will master, I can build the maximum application over the Azure. It can be .NET, it can be others as well. But this talk is around focusing the .NET as well. So I'm just introducing those top 10 Microsoft Azure services. So first one is here virtual machine. So virtual machine is the part of the infrastructure service. So when it is coming to have the complete control of the management, of the data, everything you can decide yourself. Because the virtual machine, I can install my software, I can install my runtime, I can take the backup. Whatever I need, I can do myself. So if you need the complete flexibility, the complete control of the application management, definitely should go ahead with the virtual machine. Even virtual machine is the widely used service available in Azure for hosting our application. It can be your web UI, it can be your web API. So this is the first service that everyone must know. The second service we having here, Azure storage. So ultimately, what are the data we are going to store in the cloud? Either you are using virtual machine, either using the any other service. So directly and indirectly, we are storing everything in Azure storage. So Azure storage is offering us blob storage. Azure storage is offering us the file storage. We having the table storage. So we having the many option over there. So ultimately, we have to store our data directly and indirectly with the help of Azure storage as well. Even if you're looking at what are the Microsoft product, you will find out Microsoft having the Bing, Microsoft having the Skype, Microsoft having the Office 365. Everywhere they are using the Azure storage itself for storing the data. Even the OneDrive data also they are storing using the Azure storage. So ultimately, we have to store everything with the help of Azure storage in the cloud. This is the second important service. Then third important service we having the Azure SQL database. So when it is coming to store our structured data, obviously I'm sure as a .NET developer we prefer the SQL Server. So SQL Server we run our on-prem environment. Now the requirement is here, what is the option available in Azure? So that I can move my on-prem data to cloud. I can everything manage in the similar fashion as I'm doing in the on-prem environment in the cloud as well. So we having the Azure SQL database as a next important service. So for moving your data into the cloud, we having the tool as well. So we having the data migration resistant tool. Using that tool, you can migrate your on-prem data to the Azure. So this is the third important service in Azure. When it is coming to the fourth one, we having the web app. Because virtual machine is the option for hosting your application. But many people don't want to manage the infrastructure. Many people don't want to look into the taking the regular backup of the data. They don't look into the networking or those things. So do we have any option where the things are managed by the platform itself? So we having the web app. So web app is a good option where the things are managed by the platform. You have to just focus on building your application. You have to just focus on managing your application data. Other things are here managed by the Microsoft itself. So web app is the best option over there, especially for the people who are new to the Azure, who are not having the much confidence for managing the infrastructure and all the things. So web app is the next option you can go with. Then we having the function app. So the thing is, when we are building the application, it's not the case we are only building the UI, we are only building the API. We having so many background tasks we have to execute. You having the option, let's say for sending the email on the regular interval. I'm sure many background tasks you having. Let's say we having our customer birthday. So to the customer birthday, we have to send the email early morning. It's a scheduled task. How we can do it? It can be done here with the help of Azure function. This is one example I'm giving you. A similar things we can do others as well. So when it is coming to executing some background tasks, managing them, so Azure function is the best option over there. Even I'm sure many people might be using the Windows service. Am I right? So in place of Windows service, you can go ahead with function app over there for doing such activity. I hope you are able to relate everything, whatever I'm explaining, right? If somebody having the query, you can ask me. The next one we having the Azure Cosmos DB. So when it is coming to managing the no structured database, especially when it is coming to managing the real-time data. Let's take the example of we having a application like Ola and Uber. So in Ola, Uber and whatever you are doing, you have to find out the real-time location of the cab driver. You have to figure out where my cab is right now. So in this situation, I have to retrieve the data very frequently. And the data should be very accurate. It should not take much time whenever I'm going to fire my query. So Azure Cosmos DB is going to ensure you in less than 10 milliseconds, you can perform the read operation. In less than 15 milliseconds, you can perform the write operation. So such latency is not possible in Azure SQL database, or you can see any other SQL database. So when it is coming to managing your real-time data, as I given the example, their Cosmos DB definitely help you. Another use case can be, let's say you having the games. In the games, you have to calculate the player score. You have to figure out the things. So on real-time basis, you are calculating everything. So there should be very less time for doing such calculation. So it can be done easily using the Cosmos DB. So these are the use case where Cosmos DB fit well as per the requirement. Fine. The next one we having the Azure Service Bus. So as I said here, when it is coming to building the enterprise grade application, I'm sure you might be using the Flipkart, you might be using the Amazon. So what they are doing, they are not placing the order in one shot. They actually behind the scene having the many microservices which are communicating to each other. But when it is coming to communicating the microservices to each other, so they are not communicating the connected mode. Because already connected mode we are using, they are communicating to each other in a disconnected mode. So when it is coming to reduce the decoupling between the communication, it can be done through the messages. So one microservice will send the message to the service bus queue. From the service bus queue, another service will read that message and perform the next set of operation. Even exactly same behavior, same experience you having when you place an order on Flipkart and Amazon. Am I right? Are you facing the same experience? They didn't place your order immediately. They take some time. They show you done the payment successfully. We are in progress to place your order. Even the similar experience you will find out when you cross any toll tax, and the toll tax as well your amount deducted, but somewhere you got the message after some time. But that message going to store in a place somewhere. So there that message I can store as a service bus over there. So these are some example where service bus really will help you. Then we having the next service here, Azure Active Directory, AD. So when it is coming to building the application nowadays, especially the enterprise one. So what is happening in the enterprise level, company having the many projects. It's not the case they're having only one website. You can take the example of Microsoft itself. Microsoft having the Google, Microsoft having the Azure, Microsoft having the OneDrive, Microsoft having the Outlook, Microsoft having the others product as well. So do we have any way where I have to use only one credential to access all the product? So to implement SSO, to implement the login one, I can go ahead with Azure AD. So with the help of Azure AD, we can implement the SSO into our project to do the things over there. Then we having a key vault. So when it is coming to managing our application connection string, our application password credential, it can be your SMTP detail, it can be your storage account connection string, it can be your database one. So such thing we can store in the key vault. Even in the key vault, we can store the SSL certificate as well. So key vault is just like we having a safe place where I can store my secret detail, my secret information. This is the next important service we having. When it is coming the next one, we having the Azure Application Insight. Because so far we just talk about the security, we talk about the hosting option, we talk about the database one. The next important service we having for monitoring the application. So there we having the Application Insight. So with the help of Application Insight, I can look into my code, which file is taking how much time, which request is taking how much time, so that by looking into that, I can optimize my application. And I'm sure in maximum project, whatever you will build with Azure, you cannot build these 10 Microsoft Azure services over there. Apart from that, I'm not saying we don't have other Microsoft services, we having others as well, but these are the most popular one you have to use everywhere. Clear? So do you have any query regarding this top 10 Microsoft Azure services? Yeah. In Azure storage, we having the blob storage, we having the table storage, but now the table storage, they move to the Cosmos DB. If you're looking for a better NoSQL option, go ahead with Cosmos DB table API. Table storage is simple one. Now better go ahead with the table API that they integrated with Cosmos DB. Another query? No. Azure Monitor, inside the Azure Monitor, we having the application inside. Azure Monitor is a subscription label. Application inside of the application label. Even you have seen in my monitor option I shown subscription level monitoring and application level monitoring. Subscription level monitoring you are doing using Azure Monitor, and application level monitoring you are doing using application insight. Okay. So now the thing is how we can build our ASP.NET6 application. So I have given my application name as ePizza Hub because people are now fan of eating the pizza, order it online. So exactly on the same thing I built my project. So this project is similar to as we having the Domino's and the Pizza Hut, where we are displaying a list, the option to purchase through the online. We can order it online and it will be delivered at your home. So this is the same experience you're willing to build using the ASP.NET Core 6, using the Microsoft Azure, how we can do it. So of course, initially you might not having a goal, we will deploy into the cloud. So we go ahead with a simple architecture, whatever usually we follow. So I'm sure many people might be following here clean architecture. Okay, so I just shown here a pretty much simple, you can say typical clean architecture, where in the center I'm keeping the entities. So obviously nowadays people are using the ORM tool. We have been entity framework, or we have been, let's say, the another one as well. So that these entities are nothing, these are simple object which you are mapping to the database table. Then we have in the repository where we have written some data access logic. So people nowadays preferring the repository design pattern. Then we have in the services where you have to write some business logic. So obviously what are the business activity you having that we can put into the services over there. And finally we have in the UI layer. In the UI layer I'm accessing the services. So there is a typical clean architecture. I did make it complicated so that you able to relate it easily. Okay, if the same architecture, this layered architecture you want to see, this is a layered diagram of the same one over here. So you can see we having the entities, then we having the Dell layer as a repository, we are connecting with the database, we having the services where we have written the business logic, then finally we having the web UI. So this is the thought process we usually keep in the mind when we are working on an application. Am I right? Yes or no? So exactly if you are going to look at the architecture which we build using the same one, I'm having the application. So let's dive into the code. How it is looking like. Okay. So I have to look at this screen over here. You can see here how many layers I just created. If you will look at here, I just keeping here at the top level, we having the entities to manage. Right? So what are the things I just shown over there? So what are the tables I'm having in the database? So all the table I'm just mapping with the help of this C# object. Then this architecture, the project reference I added to the repository. So if it is coming to the repository here, so this is my repository where I just added the interfaces, where just added the implementation of them, where we are writing our data access logic. So when it is coming to perform the database operation, the shopping cart, on the order, we are just keeping over there at one place. So here we just implemented the repository design pattern for doing that one. So this repository project reference we added to the services one. So the next one we having here this services one, where we did the same thing. So where we having the interfaces, we having the implementation, where all the repository I'm accessing. So when it is coming to writing or business logic, that we will keep inside the services. And you heard about in the ASP.NET Core, we are using the dependency injection. How many people are aware of the dependency injection? Are using the dependency injection in your application? So the advantage of using the dependency injection is, it is helping us to make the code loosely coupled. So that in future, if I'm willing to maintain it, I can maintain it easily. Even when it is coming to following the test-driven element, you want to write the unit test cases for our application, it is easy for that if you're following the dependency injection. So what I did here, I'm not creating the class object directly into my UI. I'm just using the interface. An interface implementation, I just keep in a separate class. So whenever I need to use that particular service, I just do the dependency injection. But somehow those dependencies I need to define somewhere so that my application get to know, okay, these are the dependencies which I need to provide whenever it's needed. So all the dependencies, the registration I did here in this configure dependencies option. If you will look at to the configure dependencies, all dependencies are registered over here. So you can see here at the top label, I added for database, I added for identity, I added for my order repository, card repository, item category. So all the service dependency we added at one place. I think you might having the font issue. Are you able to see? Okay. So all the dependency I just move at one place instead of putting in the program.cs file or putting in the startup.cs file. Because in the ASP.NET 5 and the ASP.NET Core 3.1, we register all the dependency in the startup.cs file. But starting from the .NET 6, these things has been moved to the program.cs file. So in the program.cs file, all these dependency I will inject over there. But I'm not keeping that code over there. I just created a separate dependency management file. That file method I will call over there. Clear? So if you're looking at the code which is coming to my web UI, at the web UI label you will find out that thing. Sorry. Actually I cannot navigate through my laptop. I have to look at over here. So this is my program.cs file. If I'm looking to the program.cs file, here we having here the dependency for registration. So here I'm just calling this method. So all the method I'm calling here, all the dependency registration we have done over there. So this is the way how we can manage the dependency of the application in the right way. It's not the case you have to create every time your service class object. Through the interface, we have to inject and we have to use it. So that in future, if I'm going to introduce one more implementation of the similar service, I can able to do it. So this is making my code loosely coupled. But therefore, dependency injection, we did it. So do you have any query regarding this code explanation how we are going through? If you have any query, please do ask. I'm sure many people might be seeing such architecture first time. Do we have someone who is seeing such type of code first time? Anyone? You're trying to understand. Just remember the diagram which I shared before. As per the diagram, the complete flow is going. Okay. So this is about the code things over there. But now the question is here. Let's say we just build the things. We have built our ASP.NET application, but initially we don't have in mind, we will integrate here Microsoft Azure. Now the things come into the mind, I have to integrate Microsoft Azure. So how we can do it? So obviously we have to keep our configuration in one file. So what is the file we use for keeping our configuration? We use appsetting.json. So in the appsetting.json, you have to keep your database connection string, you have to keep your storage connection string, you have to keep your connection string to connect with the service bus, you have to keep your key vault URI as well. So everything we can keep in the appsetting.json over there. So exactly same thing I did here. This is my connection string with my SQL database. This is my connection string with my storage. And you have seen few of them I just commented. Because in the development environment, it is fine to keep everything initially for the testing purpose in the appsetting.json. But when it is coming to deployment, as I said, we will keep such information, the key vault. What the service name I told over there? Key vault. So key vault is the right place where I should keep my such detail. I should not keep in the appsetting.json. So here I'm just keeping only my key vault URI. Through that I will connect, and whenever I need to retrieve my service bus connection, whenever I need to retrieve my storage account connection string, through the key vault I will retrieve. The benefit of that one is, whenever I need to change the connection string, I have to just change at key vault label. I don't need to change in my code. And whatever the things you are using in your dev environment, the production would be completely different. Because production one key vault I have to change over there. And what is happening here when it is coming to managing the app setting? So app setting here we can manage as per the environment level. So we having the development environment app setting, we have in the production level environment app setting, we have in the testing one. So whatever the app setting you are looking at here, it is applicable to the production environment. But when it is coming to dev environment, I will have the dev environment separate configuration file where I can now override my setting this way. Got it? So this is the way how the things, our flow is going to be happen over there. Obviously behind the scene, I created a service for uploading the file. I created a service to interact with the key vault. For each service, I have to create something. Even for service bus also, I just created a service where I can send the message to the service one. I can read the message from the service one. The entire code is written over there. So in this limited time, obviously I cannot explain everything, but this is the way how we did the things over there. So later on you can explore the things here. It's a simple one. I don't think it is much difficult over there. If you will try to explore, here we having the services. Sorry, here these are the helpers are available here, and these are the things we having. This is iFile helper. I added over there. Similar way we having for others as well. This one, keyword service. So here I have to just pass my secret name. It will give me the secret. The secret for service bus connection, the secret for my storage account, the secret for another one. So wherever needed, I need to just inject it and retrieve it over there. So this is the way I'm just going to access it. I hope it is clear to everyone. So should go ahead to the architecture, how these services are actually helping me to manage the things. Am I right? So the most important part is here, how we can see in action, how we are just integrating them. Okay, so I have here two diagrams. One diagram I created exactly whatever I'm using in my current project. Another diagram I created if I'm willing to add any other service, so how you can add. So obviously when it is coming to managing the things, we start with the database first. So what service we will use for the database? We will use Azure SQL database. That is a structured data I'm storing over there. What about the unstructured data? I will store obviously using the blob storage. Then this data I'm just going to access where? In my web application. But when it is coming to the application like Domino's, when it is coming to the application like say the e-commerce application, so pages are there common because any user can access public pages and the data is common. So I don't need to query for every user every time. So that data I can keep in my cache. So for that purpose, we having the Redis cache over here. So that data I'm keeping the Redis cache. Even you have seen, you are exploring the Stack Overflow. Do you know the Stack Overflow, the data, the question you are getting, the data is coming from the cache. Are you aware of this one? What are the question and answer you are looking at the Stack Overflow? They came from the cache. Exactly same thing, whatever the product you are looking at, such website, which is common. We retrieve always from the cache. Then here I'm using the web app. So I'm not using the virtual machine for hosting my application. What are the demo I will show you? I'm using here web app over there. This is the web app for monitoring purpose. I'm using here application Insight. This is the way for the security. I'm using here Vault and the Active Directory. Because to interact with the key vault directly from the code, it is not possible. I have to register the application on the AD label. That AD label registration, that application permission I have to give to the key vault. Then through that, the AD label application, I can get my secret. Directly you cannot. So for that purpose, I need to create an application at the AD label so that I can interact with the key vault over there. Then we having here queue for the communication through the function app. Because I'm using here function app for sending the email, able to sign up. And the email when you will do the payment for purchasing something. So this is not a process I will do immediately. It should happen after some time. So what I'm doing here, I'm using here a function app over there, this way. And obviously everything is based upon the .NET and Azure. So exactly same architecture I'm using in the Pizza Hub application. So what are the code I just shown to you? That code is using these 9 Microsoft Azure services. One is missing here. It is 9. Exactly the same architecture I'm having for another one as well. If you're looking at here, we having the virtual machine and Cosmos DB. These two applications, these two services I didn't show. So in place of web app, I can use virtual machine. In place of, let's say, storing the shopping cart data, I can use here Cosmos DB this time. The rest of the architecture is same. There is no difference. Rest of the architecture is exactly same. Only 2 things I introduced. So these are the 11 services over there. So 9 there, 2 I introduce here new, 11 total. So this is the way the architecture you can build for building your any .NET application with using the top most used Microsoft Azure services. I hope it is clear now. So let's quickly have a demo as well. What is the application I want to show you? So this is the application we are going to build. It is a ePizza Hub online application. This is open web, link you can open in your mobile phone. It is accessible. I hosted already in the cloud. You can access it. Okay. So I hope you can see the screen. So this is the home page of the ePizza Hub application. It is exactly similarly looking as we having the Domino's and Pizza Hut. If you have looked at the home page over there, exactly similar look and feel we having over there. So what I did here, what are the application code I just shown to you? I hosted in the cloud. Now you have to just do sign up using your actual email ID, actual mobile number. Just sign up over here. I'm sure you will get the email. Okay, then you will log in. After the login, you can do the payment exactly in the same fashion as you are doing in the Domino's, as you are doing in the Pizza Hut over there. But don't use your original credit card. Okay, I will share the credit card you can use for the testing purpose. So we are using here a payment gateway Razorpay. In the Razorpay, you can use the test credit card. So this is my login. So I can log in directly through the admin over here. So the admin label, this is the orders. What are the orders we having? We having here items. So these items you can add. So whatever I'm doing here, this data is coming from the Azure SQL database, but images are coming from the blob storage. So where I'm storing these images, I'm storing the images in the blob storage. Okay, and whenever you will do sign up, at the time of sign up, data will go to the SQL database. Okay, but for sending the confirmation email, I'm using the service bus behind the scene over there. And when it is coming to the home page, whatever you're looking at, that home page is coming from the Redis cache. Because home page is common to all users. Do you think we keep changing the home page on every minute, on every second? No, it is same. So that home page data is coming directly from the Redis cache. So this is the way how the services we are using. And when it is coming to accessing the credential, behind the scene I'm using a key vault. So these are live example we having for doing everything. I hope you will explore it. It will available live for 2 and 3 days more. You can access it and see how it is working. I will share the source code of this one. So I have done from my side for the demo and for all the things. I hope you having the understanding about it. So thank you everyone for joining this session. I hope you really liked it.